So what's the most effective way to get up off the ground once your opponent has been beating your ass a little bit and knocked you down? You're on the ground, you're doing your thing, and your opponent is coming at you, getting their okazami, getting some pressure on you, whatever it may be. Well, there's multiple different ways to get up off the ground. One of the most important ways to get up off the ground is a tech roll, or an ukemi, you could call this. It's the best way to get up off the ground 9 times out of 10, and it really depends on the scenario you're in. But this is what a tech roll is. You see what Kazuya is doing on the ground here? He is rolling off as soon as he hits the ground into the background. This is a tech roll done by hitting the punch buttons. Okay? So if I'm going to fall onto the ground immediately, the way that I get up in this scenario is by hitting either square or triangle, depending on your controller, obviously, but 1 or 2. You can also tech roll into the foreground by pressing the kick buttons. 3 or 4, it doesn't matter what button you press. As long as it's a kick button, you will tech roll into the foreground the moment you hit the ground, as long as you're spamming the kick button when you do so. Now, the thing is about tech rolling is it's very convenient to be able to just roll off the ground and then immediately implement a sidestep. So you're rolling into the background and then you're immediately sidestepping further into the background. Tech rolls allow you to do this seamlessly. It's probably the most practical way to get up in the game for that reason. I'm going to demonstrate right now what I mean. With tech rolling out of the way, into the background, and then I sidestep on top of that. Now I'm able to dodge his follow-up stuff. But if I just lay on the ground, or say I get up by holding back, or I try to get up by holding down back, in this scenario, he's going to clip me with pretty much everything he does, unless I hold either forward, and get up with a spring kick, which I'll explain what that's all about later. I'm going to tech roll, sidestep, he's clipping me with a gut punch. But there you go. I did a sidestep after a tech roll, and I gave myself even more space. And I was able to dodge pretty much everything he throws at me. Obviously, I'm getting clipped by the gut punch every time I don't hold back after the sidestep, but you know what I'm saying. Tech roll into the background, and then you will pretty much always dodge something that Kazuya does, because essentially a tech roll it reacts in the same way that a sidestep does. So if you're tech rolling, you're moving away from the opponent in a vertical way. It's not a horizontal movement anymore. You're not doing just 2D shit. You're literally just moving into the foreground and the background by doing a tech roll, which makes it so that any linear attack that Kazuya decides to throw at me after that, once I've done a tech roll, is going to whiff, right? So let's try to get Kazuya to do that shit again. I'm going to tech roll here, and then I just hold back. He's trying to pressure me, but that hell sweep whiffed. Because it's a linear attack, it doesn't really track to the left side, to my left side. It tracks to his left, doesn't track to my left. Which is why sidestep left beats the crap out of Mishima's. I will talk more about sidesteps in the future. There's not a video right now out for that in the series yet, but sidesteps are definitely coming, so don't worry. Now, the kicker is with tech rolls. You cannot sidestep into the foreground. You can only sidestep into the background after a tech roll. Don't ask me why this is. This system has been implemented in Tekken since the dawn of fucking time. I don't know why they continue and insist on keeping this a thing in this game. You should be able to sidestep either way, right? Like, if Kazuya knocks me down, and I tech roll into the foreground with the kick button, I'm stuck in crouching position now. This is me tapping the down button. I cannot sidestep left. Or sidestep right, sorry, after a tech roll from getting up into the foreground. I am stuck in the crouching position. I can only tech roll in the background. And then add a sidestep after that, like I just did there. So, again, I don't know why this is the case in Tekken, but it is what it is. And just keep that in mind whenever you're tech rolling. You want to tech roll usually into the background away from your opponent, and then add a sidestep after that to make sure that you create a little extra space. So yeah, that system sucks. You cannot sidestep into the foreground after you get up from a foreground tech roll, but, I really hope, because Tekken 8 is so innovative and so it's very, very fan servicey. The fans are being paid a lot of attention to by the devs for this game, so hopefully they may decide to implement a system where we can actually sidestep into the foreground after we get up from a tech roll, because a foreground tech roll should allow consistent movement, but it doesn't. We're stuck in this crouching position. It's total bullshit. If you try to tap, you have to basically get up, press back, and then start sidestepping that way. So get up, sidestep, or to get up, block, then sidestep. It's so ridiculous. So we should be able to do a sidestep from a foreground tech roll, but we're not allowed to do that yet. Hopefully that gets added later on in the game's lifespan, but we'll see what happens. The other way to get up that I'm going to show here now is just a simple back roll, just holding back. Once you get up, or once you're knocked down, Kazuya's going to knock me down and I'm going to hold back. What that does is it gets up in a defensive position. So because that second hell sweep is slightly delayed by Kazuya, it doesn't connect if I hold back after getting up. Or if I hold back to get up. So now Kazuya's doing his hell sweep stuff. Doing the hell sweep shenanigans, I'm holding back. Now he's whipped a hell sweep, and now I get to punish him. Because what I just did is a defensive get-up maneuver by holding back. You do move a little bit further away from the opponent, but you are going to be susceptible to low pressure from your opponent after that as a follow-up. You're going to be susceptible to throws, things like that. If someone's just running up in your face and doing shit right after they've knocked you down, you know, they're going to knock you down and then you're going to hold back and then they're going to do some random shit. You're susceptible to getting attacked, obviously, after a back roll, because it's a bit slower of getting up from a back roll than it is getting up from a tech roll, which is why tech roll is usually the superior way to get up. It's the fastest, most efficient way, covers a lot of ground. You're basically sidestepping while you get up. It's almost foolproof, but there are definitely weaknesses to tech rolling, because tech rolls are susceptible to tech traps. Say your opponent knocks you down and then does a little bit of pressure, and when it is your turn to get up, they decide to just drop whatever they're doing and then do a random like tracking unblockable attack or something. You're going to eat that unblockable after a tech roll, because they've seen you tech roll so many times that they're like, okay, this guy loves to tech roll after he gets up off the ground. I'm going to do a tech trap and then hit him with this unblockable for free, because he keeps tech rolling into this scenario that would put him in a scenario that's susceptible to getting hit by this unblockable that this character has. I don't know, I can't even think of an example. Like Bruce and Ogre had a crazy one with back 2+3 in the older games. You would knock them down, you would do some damage, and then you'd do back 2+3, they would do that crazy unblockable, and then they'd hit you for 1,000 damage. Not that many, but a crazy amount of damage. And that was a tech trap. Anybody who tech rolled instantly after getting knocked down and hitting the ground would eat that unblockable 100% of the time. So there had to be a different solution to dealing with that character and with that setup, which is why sometimes it's good to just do a back roll. Do a back roll, evade the hell sweep, and get a punish up. Do a back roll or don't. But you can always do other options as well, like quick standing. Quick standing is another option. You just hold up. Hold up as soon as you get knocked down, or tap up even as soon as you get knocked down, and you will stand up. You're able to block low, you're able to block standing, but compared to back rolling, there is no evasive property whatsoever in quick standing. But quick standing can beat a myriad of different things. I'm going to give an example here. So Kazuya is going to launch me, and he's going to do a tech trap here. I'm going to try getting up by either holding back or tech rolling after this combo's over. So let's see what Kazuya is going to do. And I'm going to hold back. I'm just holding back right now. This is all I'm doing, is just holding back. So I'm holding back. All I'm doing is holding back. This is a tech trap. What if I tech roll? Let's see what happens if I tech roll after Kazuya hits me with this. I'm going to tech roll, just mashing the punch button. Now I'm going to mash the kick button. So I'm going to tech roll into the foreground, not the background. Nothing happens. Because this is a tech trap. What happens if I stand up? If I get up by quick standing, by holding up? Gonna do the combo. I'm holding up right now. I just blocked his forward, forward, forward. Because I got up and I held back. So this move, or standing up like this, can beat out certain advantages that your opponent could potentially have over you, like tech setups and tech traps. But it is susceptible to other types of mix-ups, if Kazuya were to go low there, for example. Let's have Kazuya end the combo with a Hell Sweep this time, and see what happens if I try getting up by holding up, standing, just the quick standing. That would beat Demon Steel Pedal, or forward, forward, 4, with Kazuya at the end there, that tech trap that I showed you. I'm gonna hold up. Oh, but I held up! And Kazuya still hit me with that Hell Sweep. I'm just holding up right now. This would normally beat the forward, forward, 4. It would beat forward, forward, 4. But it does not beat Hell Sweep. The kicker is you can immediately low block as soon as you stand up with a quick stand. So quick standing beats a myriad of different things, but it also is susceptible to a myriad of different things because you don't know if your opponent's going to throw or if they're going to hit you with a low or whatever they're going to do. Tech roll is usually the best way to go. There's also back rolling, which is just holding back when you're on the ground. Like I said, these movements are all great ways to get up. There's also forward rolling, which is usually not what you want to do, but let's give an example of when forward rolling might be not a terrible idea. Because he's going to hit me a couple of times, and I'm going to forward roll into him and then do a diving attack, which is a forward roll into 1+2. See what happens. I fucked it up there, but yeah, we're holding forward, and then we're pressing 1+2. So when you're on the ground, you can forward roll by pressing forward, but what happens when you do that is you are susceptible to getting refloated. Holding forward before you hit the ground gives you this shit. We'll talk about this in a minute, but if you press forward when you're on the ground, as soon as you're on the ground, press forward, and you will forward roll. But they can still float you by doing other things. So you're gonna forward roll into this shit. This is a +2 on block dive attack. So there you go, +2 on block on that bitch. So definitely not a bad option to use while getting up. It basically surprises your opponent, gives you a bit of advantage, and it's got not horrible damage, and it has some evasive properties because it does low crush. So if Kazuya's coming at you with another Hell Sweep, you can do a forward roll into 1+2 and do that dive attack for plus frames on block or some decent damage. It's extremely linear, you can sidestep it no problem, but it's not a horrible move. Forward rolling is not typically what you want to do, because you're rolling into danger. So try not to forward roll, and you should be fine. But let's talk a little bit about positions on the ground. When you're on the ground, you could be either face up, feet towards, which is the best position you want to be in. So let's get Kazuya to hit me on the ground real quick. I am face up, and my feet are towards the opponent. Very easy way to describe what this is. This is the best position you can be in, because you have access to all of your immediate get-up options. You can toe kick, you can do a kip up like this, which is just 3+4 when you're on the ground. You can also do the quick stand, like I said. You can do all kinds of shit. You can roll into the foreground, you can roll into the background, but those options are available at any type of being knocked down scenario. Like if you're knocked down and you set into any kind of position, not just face up, feet towards, you can always tech roll, you can always stand, quick stand by holding up, you can always back roll, but the safest position to be in is face up, feet towards, because you get up the fastest, your tech roll is the fastest tech roll. Say you're knocked down and you put into a position like this. Kazuya's gonna do some shit, then he's going to flip me over. Now, I'm currently in face down, feet away from the opponent. This, unlike the other position we just talked about, is the worst position you could possibly be in, because I don't have access to really any of my offensive moves when I'm in this position. Maybe I want to do a kip up. Maybe it would be an ideal situation to surprise my opponent with that dive attack I showed you earlier. Maybe I'm put in a position where doing a toe kick would put me in a way better spot. I could get a little bit of damage, push myself away from Kazuya, and be at, a good neutral position. But I'm not able to do any of those things and face down, feet away. Meanwhile, my opponent Kazuya is at a serious advantage here because he could just keep pressuring me with Demon Steel Pedal, or forward, 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 whatever you want to call it. And I'm pretty much helpless in this scenario, unless I try to get up in an intellectually sound way, something that's going to yield some positive results. If I just stay there and eat the fucking damage, I'm gonna die in no time. As you can see here, this shit is not, it's no joke. Kazuya could just do this all day. I'm just gonna roll on the ground and I'm going to do foreground and tech roll into the background type of shit. This Demon Steel Pedal's gonna kill me all frickin' day. There's nothing I could do. So now he's got me on the, well, that missed. That did miss because I timed the roll just perfectly. But speaking of the side rolls into the background or foreground, that's a different technique than tech rolling. And that's also useful for the reason that you just saw on screen. Side rolling is super crucial for when you want to make a smart escape from the opponent. So say Kazuya knocks me down, I'm going to do a side roll into the background now, right? So I'm going to just stay there. I need to be in a flat laying position. I can't be moving or have just hit the ground at any point. I need to just be on the ground already. Now I'm going to press the 1 button to roll into the background. Press the 1 button. Gives you a roll into the background, gets you some distance away from the opponent in a vertical way, and then brings you back up to safety position. So you're rolling into the background may be a good option to do sometimes. So say my opponent Kazuya knocks me down and I want to tech roll into the foreground, I would press down and 1 at that point. So Kazuya's knocked me down now. I'm going to hold down and I'm going to press 1. Now I've side rolled into the foreground. This is an effective maneuver if your opponent is doing a lot of moves that track to their right side or to your left side. If you're noticing that your opponent is trying to pressure you with those types of moves and you're on the ground, you might want to just roll into the foreground and then get up safely. Of course, face down, feet towards the opponent is a very dangerous position to be in, almost as bad as face down, feet away. But at least in face down, feet towards the opponent position, your get-up kicks are executed a little bit quicker. So there is somewhat of a more positive aspect about being in face down, feet towards than being in face down, feet away position from the opponent. So just keep that in mind. Face down, feet away is a position you rarely, if ever, want to see yourself in because it's pretty fucking dangerous and very susceptible to okazemi. As far as get-up kicks are concerned, let's discuss those just a tiny bit here. So you see people online doing this shit and fucking this shit all the time. Well, maybe not, obviously that shit, but this shit all the time, and, we're gonna do this shit a lot. This is super fucking common. This shit is ridiculously common. So many freaking Tekken fans love to do that dumb shit. This hip-hop maneuver. It's very annoying. It's +3 on hit. +3 on hit's no joke. It's good. But, man, it does hardly any damage, and you can easily get floated in this position. So why do so many people insist on getting up like this? This is not necessarily something you want to do. You're in a very vulnerable position when you get up like this. So try to avoid this because you've got no range. As soon as you stand up, you're susceptible to launch punish for a couple of frames. And it does no damage. It's unsafe on block. I don't understand why so many people insist on just holding forward. But whatever, do your thing. It may be a decent idea to do if you're getting reads on your opponent and your opponent is doing something like a constant hell sweep type of shit. So he's going to, dumb pressure, do this shit, and you might be able to get away from some certain types of pressure from the opponent. It really depends on what they're doing. But if you're just doing this blindly and aimlessly, even though your opponent's giving you no reason to do it, then maybe try waiting and seeing what your opponent is going to do. I know a lot of players love to just, chill on the ground sometimes and then roll around and then get up at their own leisure, but that's also susceptible to Oki. So don't just marry yourself to a specific type of get-up maneuver. Do tech rolls, do back rolls, do side rolls once you're already on the ground. Stand up with quick stand. A lot of people never use quick stand because it's not defensive at all. You're literally standing up into danger, but it allows you to block standing and block low immediately after you've stood up. So it's still very good for defense, but it doesn't remove you from a potentially harmful scenario, which is why a lot of people choose to just stick with back roll and tech roll. They're more evasive ways of getting up, Quick stand is more of a defensive way of getting up, less evasive way of getting up. So there's many different types of getting up scenarios in this game, and so you're really just gonna have to visually confirm what's happening on screen, identify what the fucking best maneuver of getting up would be, and then execute that. Obviously, it's Tekken. It's the same thing for offense for your opponent too. A defense during a match. You know, always just observe what your opponent is doing and then react accordingly. Don't just mindlessly autopilot how you get up. If everyone is getting up with tech roll all the time, you're just going to eat tech traps. If everybody is getting up with back rolls all the time, you're going to eat tech traps that would be defeated with quick stands, like the forward tech trap that Kazuya has. Quick stand beats it, back roll doesn't. So you have to see these things and then react appropriately. Always be okay with adapting to your opponent's playstyle. So say I'm in this scenario here with Kazuya. I'm at the wall, and I've got the wall to my left. Kazuya is susceptible to sidestep left, so that's not good because in this scenario, Kazuya is very scary. Every move he does is going to either track to his left or my right, which means I can't sidestep right the guy, he's just going to kill me, or they're homing moves. So, of course, he's got a bunch of linear moves too, but for the most part, he's pretty fucking scary if you can't sidestep him left. So, this is why it's very important to know exactly how to deal with characters when the wall's involved. So say Kazuya does this shit. Now I'm getting some pressure against the wall. I've just tech rolled away from Kazuya. I'm back against the wall somewhat, but I have more room, more space to maneuver. I can now get the hell out of here. Now what would happen if I did the opposite tech roll in that scenario? I'm rolling into the background, or into the background, I'm still stuck against the wall. Kazuya is still pressuring my ass, he's right in my face, and I got the wall to my side. Why the fuck did I tech roll into the background when the wall is in the background? No, get the fuck out of there. Tech roll out of the background, tech roll into the foreground in that scenario. Always tech roll away from the wall. So it doesn't matter if the wall is in the background or the foreground or wherever it is. And wherever the wall is, if your opponent is pressuring you against the wall, your reaction should be, don't worry about anything but getting away from the wall. So once I've been knocked down, the tech roll I should do, or the side roll I should do, once I've hit the ground, is the one that gets me away from the wall. What I've just demonstrated there. So don't do option B that I demonstrated, always do option A, because Kazuya was able to move further away from the opponent Kazuya, and I was able to get to safety. In the second scenario I showed you, I was screwed. Kazuya could still pressure me with more bullshit against the wall. So very, very dangerous position to be in. That's pretty much it for the video. Don't really have a whole lot to say. Getting up in Tekken is fairly complicated, but just as long as you're doing exactly what you should always do in Tekken, which is observe what your opponent is doing, identify their habits, identify their level of adaptation. If they're able to adapt to what you're doing, then hopefully you can further adapt what you're doing on top of their adaptation. So that's what the dance is all about. You're adapting to me, well then I should better adapt myself to your adaptation. Well now he's adapting again, and now I have to adapt to that, etc. and so forth. So just observe what's happening on screen and react appropriately. Don't be married to one specific way of getting up. Kip-ups are shit. Get-up kicks are trash. Just don't even fucking use those anymore. The get-up 3, when you're on the ground and you hit 3, this toe kick, it's -7 on hit. Which means it doesn't even give you any advantage on hit. It doesn't launch anymore, because it used to launch in Tekken 7 and every game prior. And it yields almost no positive benefit whatsoever, because it can be interrupted with counter hit play, it can be low parried, and just because it's safe on block doesn't mean that it can't be completely destroyed by other means like sidestep right. If you constantly do this stupid fucking get up bullshit, where you get up like this, and or say you do the other one. What's the other one where you get up 4, where you do the mid? Both of those kicks are safe on block, but both of them are extremely susceptible to sidestep right, and they're very linear. So the moment that your opponent sees that you do this shit regularly, They're going to sidestep right after they knock you down, and then they're going to beat the shit out of you for doing your get-up kicks. So don't do the get-up kicks. Just avoid that shit unless you get a hard read on the opponent. Hard reads, that's something that's going to take time. But if you get a hard read and you think, well, my opponent's going to kick this, or going to hit this, get hit by this get-up kick, then it's okay to do a get-up kick. Just make sure it kills the opponent. Don't just do it in the middle of a match when people still have, 80 to 100 health left. You're wasting your time and potentially killing yourself in the process. So just be smart about getting up. Anyways, I hope this helped. Getting up is tricky, but this should bring you a little bit more insight in what's the appropriate response, depending on the scenario you're in. Next video, we're going to talk about some more cool shit. And we're going to discuss sidesteps pretty damn soon as well, because this video already has a little bit of sidestepping pertaining to it. So I think it's time pretty quick to talk about sidesteps, why they're important, and all that shit. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Keep rocking out and keep gaming.